Throughout his presidency, the Trump administration's primary concern has been immigration. They claim that immigrants are violent criminals, that previous administrations have been too weak on illegal immigration, that they have a cohesive plan to stop the wave of illegal immigration that they say is pouring into our country, which raises a number of questions. How much of this is true? To what extent? And what implications does any of this have for our country? There are many myths about immigrants, that they're violent criminals, that undocumented immigrants don't pay taxes, that they are entering the country in record numbers. All of these things are false. Firstly, sanctuary cities have less crimes on average than non-sanctuary cities, and immigrants have lower incarceration rates than native-born citizens. Secondly, illegal immigrants still pay sales and property taxes, and in 2010 paid an estimated $13 billion in payroll taxes despite not receiving any benefits. Finally, the peak year for new immigrants entering the United States was 1907, and undocumented immigration rates have been steadily declining since 2010.
Comparing the current Trump administration to the previous Obama administration, statistics are surprisingly similar in regard to immigration control. During Obama's presidency, over 2 million immigrants were deported, while the Trump administration has deported 256,000 in 2018. This is slightly lower than first-year Obama numbers, but still, both administrations have similar statistics on the total amount of people deported, or at least on track to end with similar numbers. In addition, not many major pieces of legislation have been passed that changes immigration law between Obama and Trump's time. Regulation has mostly been similar. Where the major differences lie is not in the total amount of different legislation being used, but rather the type of deportation and the methods used on people in custody. First of all, while confrontations and deportations at the US-Mexico border are down in numbers, removal of immigrants from the interior has gone up in the Trump administration. More already inside of the US are being deported since Obama's time. Secondly, more extreme methods and strategies like separation of families, child cages, and multi-day containment have become more commonplace in holding people. With the creation of Trump's zero-tolerance policy, in which the prosecution of illegal immigrants is being ramped up, these actions were deemed necessary to carry through the policy. The process was also made to be harsher as well, to deter any others from trying to cross illegally. It used to be that families would only be separated if it was deemed necessary, such as if one family member was carrying firearms, drugs, or some other form of contraband. Families were not split up by simple practice. However, this has become more commonplace now, and hundreds of families are separated at the border without any given need to change procedure. The average number of families in ICE custody is 44,631 on any given day on average. The number of people held past the maximum of 72 hours in detainment has also increased dramatically. Trump hasn't created many changes from the past administration, but instead changed how different rules were enforced, as well as the harshness of practices in order to crack down on illegal immigration and enforce the zero-tolerance policy. As said itself, DOJ's policy represented a change in the level of enforcement of an existing statute, rather than a change in statute or regulation. With more extreme measures becoming more commonplace, this has led to the border becoming almost a humanitarian crisis. There's simply not the required facilities to hold this many people for so long. Other things too, like child cages, need reiterating as well. There was no large change in rules or such in between the times of Obama to Trump, but there's been plenty of changes in smaller things. The process of deporting a family has become much more extreme over time.
To learn more about this, we first sat down with Yema Misha, an immigration lawyer based here in Corvallis. Our first question was whether there had been any significant changes in policy compared to those of past administrations. She responded that while the Trump administration has not made any legislative changes, the practices used by the current administration have generally been much harsher than they were under previous presidents. Over the last few years, the administration has almost normalized practices such as the family administration policy that had been considered horrific in the times that they had been used in the past, whereas now people have really stopped caring about it much. I then asked her how the administration's policies have affected her clients. Her answer was that there haven't been too many tangible effects as of yet. However, many of the administration's proposals would threaten a number of her clients' green card statuses and endanger them in that way. So the most significant effect so far is fear of losing the things that they've built here and uncertainty about their future. So what then about the future? What is being proposed currently and what may be the legislation of tomorrow? She told us that it's been difficult to keep up with everything that's been suggested. The administration keeps changing their plans, and it seems that just about everyone involved has a different idea of what should be done, so just keeping up to date with everything would take a huge amount of time. Based on this, one can conclude that the administration has no real plan, as they have been unable to get anything passed by a Republican-held Congress and cannot agree on any plan for how to proceed in the future. But what plans have been suggested and what effects could they have if implemented?
One idea the White House has put forth is to change the current system of admittance from a random lottery and family-based entrance to a merit-based system instead. This would be similar to others in the world like Canada's or New Zealand. The current system is based mostly around family connections, where if someone has relatives in the USA, it'll be a lot easier for the person to get in. This whole system plans to distance itself from that idea and focus more on what the specific individual can do. Well, the White House has published data saying that 66 to 70% of all legal immigration is family-based. From 2005 to 2015, 9.3 million immigrants were let into the U.S. based on family relations. This new system is also made to lessen the amount of low-skilled workers that would come into the U.S. While it's questionable as an increase in unskilled workers actually has an effect on wages of needed workers, this new policy is likely to reduce the number of unskilled workers in the job market. To explain the proposed bill, there are two tiers of people to earn green cards. Tier 1 deals with higher skilled workers, while 2 deals with medium to low skilled workers. Each category will cover a large number of similar things like education and place of origin, but some points might be earned differently in sections. For example, one section in Tier 1 asks on specific high-demand work and entrepreneurship, while in Tier 2 there are questions about caregiving skills and good employment record instead, like promotions and such. This proposed system is also different in that, unlike, say, Canada, which has a target level of points one must reach before gaining a guaranteed spot and getting a green card, the U.S. system will be based on simply accruing as many points as one can. Then, the section that does get the green cards will be chosen among the top point earners. Furthermore, family relations will still count for 10 out of the 100 points possible in both tiers as well, so there's still some influences on family, counting for something in both cases. Regardless, it's less stress than the current system, and past and present employment will be counting for a lot more. Do keep in mind, this is just a proposed system and much of this is subject to change. However, it's clear that the system will shift the priority from a family-based system of letting in immigrants and random chance to one focusing more on a person's education and employment. This in total has various upsides and downsides. Replacing the family-focused system might make it harder for families to be reunited. While having relatives in the U.S. with the proposed system does help, a person without previous education or employment in the U.S. might find a bit of difficulty in becoming a citizen. In addition, some might have a moral quandary with the proposal. The American dream was founded on someone coming to America with nothing and making something of themselves. Wouldn't this possibly fly in the face of that, preferring the already prepared and educated over another that might have the potential but not the means? On the other hand, though, it also does make it so immigrants would be more likely to fit into society easier and find jobs they're prepared for. More people in higher education will also help STEM field growth, and perhaps convince more people to enter STEM fields. In conclusion, this proposed policy will certainly help those that would perform better getting to the U.S. easier. It also raises a few moral and ideological quandaries going against the principle that the country became famous for. The American dream is something that even foreigners have at least heard of. While it's not as prevalent in our culture as it was further back in the past, say during the early 20th century, it's still a solid part of the American identity. How many stories has there been of some small family or single person coming with nothing but a suitcase and making a living for themselves? How many Americans have immigrant ancestors? Even Donald Trump himself has Scottish and German ancestors who came to America. It's certainly true that this merit system would replace an unfair system of random chance, but is it worth it to weaken the resolve of the idea that millions have come to America to prove? Ultimately, it is possible that this merit system would lead to an unfortunate change in American society. Some already consider the American dream to be dead, and this well-meaning legislation could be what really puts the last nail in this coffin of this unique sentiment in our culture.